Hello, Internet, and welcome to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. This is episode 330, and I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, and we've got some Destiny 2 news to talk about. We've got some Valorant, now that we actually know that's the name of something, to talk about, and then a couple news pieces over the past week and a half since we didn't do a show last week that we just all kind of found rather interesting. One or two of them may have been, things we've been saying for quite some time that now we're seeing some other people say, too. Other people that have actual weight say. Joining me to go through it all, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay, and I promise I will not fire a gun off during this video.
Was that potentially going to be a problem?
You've not seen the video of the Twitch streamer who was drunk and fooling around and...
No.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, she knows what I'm talking about, yeah.
I know
exactly. Must have missed it.
He was suspended from Twitch and dropped by his esports team.
Imagine that. Well, also on the line, as you can hear, Miss Quinlan Bowers with some internet back. Welcome back.
I have internet again for a brief period of time. but I thought, because we went in and checked with the electric company is doing internet now here in Mississippi. It's a weird thing, but we went in and checked to see, and they were like, oh no, you're not part of the first wave. And then we went in and checked again to see, and the same woman's like, oh, let me look it up for you. Oh yeah, you're fine. So by May, I will actually have real internet.
There you go. There you go. Sucks when you have those caps and you think your cap is something different than it is.
Oh my God, no. Yeah, because it was supposed to be like 50 gigs. And then they're like, and I'm like, oh, we checked it, and it's like, oh, I'm not even at 20 yet. I can afford to watch a couple of episodes of 24 Hours to Hell and Back. And then the next day, why can't I do anything?
Oh man, that's the worst. All right, let's slide over. Oh, go ahead.
You know what they told us was that, oh, we sent you a message. It was in your bill, the bill you never look at because you're using the app to pay the bill.
Right, because you just go online and pay the damn thing, of course. All right, let's slide over and get started with the news. All right, so we actually have a name for this now in the last week. We have found out that Riot's, 5v5 character-based tactical shooter will be called Valorant. We've known this has been in development for a while, along with some other Riot projects that will be coming. Many of them probably won't be free-to-play, like some of the RPGs that focus on some of the hero's backstory in League of Legends. We don't expect those to be free-to-play, but it was confirmed that Valorant, which used to be Project A, will be free-to-play, and Jason, it's kind of looking like, Counter-Strike or CSGO, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, in the realm of trying to compete with games like Overwatch and Paladins and those types of team-based tactical shooters. Looks to be a little more tactical in nature than run and gun. But, yeah, all in all, what were your initial thoughts when we first got the reveal here?
Yeah, that's the general impression people are saying, that it plays like Counter-Strike Go, but with CSGO, whatever, but with more of an Overwatch or Paladins kind of feel to it in terms of things like special abilities. In CSGO, you're just dudes with guns or grenades or whatever, quote-unquote realistic. Whereas with Valorant, you're going to have some special abilities. You're going to be able to, let's see, I think, like one of the characters puts out like a healing orb or something like that, or other stuff like that. And some guys can do different things to help move them around, climb walls, whatever, and so forth. So yeah, from what I'm seeing, that is what it is, but they do have an emphasis that gunplay is going to still be your main way of collecting kills and achieving objectives, with having a limited amount of your special abilities to use. So it's not just spamming them every 12 seconds or so when they're off cooldown, like you see sometimes with Overwatch or Paladins or games like that. So they're trying to strike a balance between that very tactical kind of shooter kind of game, and also something with special abilities and fun characters and so forth.
Yeah, and it seems like they're trying to, and some of this comes from an interview with, or thoughts of some Polygon staff, in particular Austin Goslin, who said that the game felt a little more deliberate in pace than Overwatch, but much quicker than something like Counter-Strike Go. So trying to find kind of, I guess, that balance between somebody that, like, I like the ultra tactical stuff, like the Ghost Recon sniping game back in the day and things like that. You're more, Jason, of an Overwatch kind of guy. You like that faster paced kind of run and gun-ish. Not quite, I wouldn't say, on the level of something like an Ultima. You know, it's not Twitch-based, but it is moderately Twitch-based shooting. So this kind of seems like, from everything we're hearing and seeing, it's going to try and strike that balance right in the middle, Q.
I mean, yeah, it's not an area, right, that I'm like really totally up on because I just don't do competitive shooters. But I mean, it does seem like yeah, it'll kind of fill that area in between. And considering the wide range of players that you have these days, that's something that you need, where you're not having something way out here on both ends and nothing for those people that just land kind of in the middle for play preference.
Before we get to some of the features of the game itself, and Jason, you've kind of alluded to some of them, like the special skills, but there'll be limited charges, so there is a bit of more focus on gunplay, character design, looking a little cartoony, kind of around the, reminiscent of WildStar, I think is what you said in the article that you wrote. I do want to talk about something rather unique to Valorant, because a lot of the things we're going to talk about, they don't feel all that unique. I don't feel like this game's really trying to innovate in the genre. It's trying to bring a competent alternative to the genre, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But something a little unique on this side is that Riot Games is really, let's say, gung-ho about keeping everybody's ping as low as possible in this game, to the point that they struck deals with some internet service providers, Jason.
Yeah, that's something we are kind of puzzling about, and I even asked on my Twitter. I asked people to said, "Hey, if you're a little more up to date on net neutrality than I am, what do you think of this?" And the line from the article was that they, quote, struck a deal with internet service providers that will route internet traffic directly from you to Riot servers. Which, if you remember, a couple of years ago, there was an issue where a cable company was actually sued because they were trying to charge Riot and also Netflix additional money. The
big bandwidth eaters.
Yeah. They were trying to charge them, although you think World of Warcraft and other games like that would also be up there too. But for whatever reason, they went with Riot. But yeah, they got hit by the New York Attorney General, who later got hit for his own issues, but whatever. And yeah, they had I think there was a settlement, and they had to pay a decent amount. So yeah, and that was something that went right around when the whole net neutrality thing was starting to be debated and starting to maybe crumble away a little bit. And it was sort of seen as this could be the future if things happen in a certain way. And now we're seeing this. It's not certain. The one thing that a lot of people said online to me was, if Riot's building their own infrastructure to do this and paying for it, then that's fine.
Yeah, that was something I replied to yours on that topic too.
Yeah, whereas if they're just paying companies to get traffic routed to them, that's a little more iffy. So
yeah, I mean, and to me, that's how it basically broke down. If this is Riot's architecture that they're building that says, hey, we're going to build this architecture, we require more bandwidth, we would like to buy that bandwidth off of you so that our architecture and our spine is able to function. I'm okay with that. If they reached out to Comcast, Verizon, whatever the major players in the ISP world as far as the United States goes, and said, "Hey, that whole thing a while ago where you wanted to charge us for a super fast lane on the internet here, yeah, we were against it then, but we want to take you up on that now and pay for it." I think people will have a problem with that, Q, because that is exactly what some of like the SOPA and PIPAs and all those legislations for net neutrality, the uproar against them was that ISPs should not be able to market fast lanes to the big dogs and small lanes or no lanes in some cases to the small dogs. I think that does create a little bit of a problem if that's what's going on.
Yeah, and it's a constant worry for I think most people who are aware of this kind of stuff, potentially happening. And it does seem a little weird that it's particularly them that's doing it now. Like you said, though, if they are building, I guess, their own service or anything. Interestingly enough, though, and I'm not sure on the actual veracity of this, but what, 4 or 5 years ago now, when I had, moved in to help with Barney. He played WoW all the time, and he told me that Blizzard actually had a deal with AT&T, which is why he never had a problem with literally just WoW on his internet, even when everything else was shit.
Weird.
So, yeah.
Now that's anecdotal at best right now. I mean, we don't. I don't have any
like
articles
I said,
to reference for that, but.
I haven't checked. I never bothered to check it out, but I do know his WoW usually ran pretty well, no matter what was going on with the internet.
Yeah,
so.
Jason, if that's the case, though, I personally do have a problem with that, because even if the law of the land is written a certain way, if one big company is willing to shell out the money, then it almost forces all of the other big companies to do the same, right? I mean, you really don't have an option if you're Blizzard and you've got Overwatch, if you're Valve and you've got CS:GO, and now you have Riot coming in with Valorant, and let's say it picks up a really nice chunk of the audience. Presumably it'll do pretty well, at least from the start, just because it carries Riot Games / League of Legends IP into it. But then let's say it is a well-done game and it does pretty well. You almost have to pay if one of the things is, man, the ping on it is phenomenal. I have no problems playing this. I don't have the problems I have with Overwatch. I don't have the problems I have with CS:GO. If that becomes a rallying cry in the Valorant player base, then you almost have to shell out the money if you're Blizzard or if you're Valve, don't you? And that kind of just, it doesn't matter that we didn't have the laws or that we didn't want these as part of the laws or we fought to stop these. If the companies are just willing to shell out the money, it forces the other big dogs that, well, we have to shell out the money, and then the small dogs don't have a chance anymore.
Well, they're only willing because they have to, because they're forced
Exactly.
to, don't have another option. It's not like we can use the other internet. So one thing I'm noticing, that I just did a really quick search here. Apparently, AT&T hosted the infrastructure for World of Warcraft for a while. So this is an article from 2009 when they were renewing their deal.
So that's a little bit different. That's a little bit different than selling bandwidth. Yeah.
Why he was doing it, it's okay there. But yeah. I mean, if that's the only choice, and you're going to have to pay for it eventually, which is kind of what the whole point was behind not having that sort of thing around. Because then if you've got a smaller game, a smaller MMO, they can't afford to pay the millions or billions that Blizzard or Riot are paying. You just get screwed out of it. So.
Well, if Riot is definitely paying for something. It's just, what are they paying for? I definitely want more details about this as we go forward. But you can bet your sweet ass, right? It's a free-to-play game. If they're spending money on something, that they got to recoup that money plus some somewhere else. So let's talk about what we know about monetization for the game so far, Jason.
Well, they are going to have a cash shop. Oh, shocking!
Stunning.
Yeah, I know. And in that cash shop, they're going to sell weapon skins. They're going to sell sprays. They're going to sell what else? They're not going to sell character skins, interestingly enough, because they say they don't want those because they want you to be able to identify the characters immediately without having all sorts of weird stuff on their heads or shoulders or whatever. So, but yeah, they're going to sell other than that, pretty much all the regular stuff you'd expect.
I kind of dig the no. Let's wait for a second on what I know you're going to talk about next. Okay. I kind of dig the no skins thing, for exactly that reason. I'm not a hardcore everyday Overwatch player. My boys, my oldest son and my son Steven, and even my daughter Cassidy too, they get into Overwatch in spurts. So they'll play it like crazy for 3 weeks, and then they don't play it for 3 months. And when they're in that spurt, I typically jump in and play with them. And other games, I do the same thing, Paladin, stuff like that. And I do find it, not being somebody that plays as often as, Jason, you may play Overwatch or watch Overwatch or just be familiar with Overwatch through streams and things because you do enjoy watching that stuff. What are the latest skins for what are the different heroes? And there is a bit of, who is that for me? Because I haven't played in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and a new character dropped, or 5 new skins for a character dropped, and I don't recognize the color pattern as it blurs past my screen, from left to right. And I'm like, who the hell was that? And all of a sudden I'm getting hit from behind by abilities I should have been able to recognize might be coming if I would have recognized the color blur. So I can appreciate, as somebody that's a bit more casual on these types of games, that sensibility, and again, feels like Q pushing towards the middle, right? We're going to have a lot of heroes with a lot of abilities, but we want to make it a little more accessible than something like CSGO or long-term matches than CSGO. And I think I definitely appreciate it as a more casual player.
I think it's kind of interesting that it's something that they're saying, because I remember having a discussion with I actually can't remember which high-res person it was, but it was during one of the interviews, and one of the things we talked about was specifically skins and how much time and effort they put into making sure that, not the color thing you were talking about, I didn't even think about the colors on it, but making sure that the silhouette is easily recognizable no matter what, so that you can see the silhouette of the character and be like, okay, that's, Discordia or whatever, without having to worry about the colors or everything else. So
yeah, and I'm not here to imply that Overwatch or these other games don't do some things like the silhouettes of the characters or the outlines of the characters when you have them on radar or any special abilities in other games. There are things that I'm just, not watching because I'm not terribly good at them and don't play them a lot. I'm not saying they're just assing people out, but I honestly never even thought of that. Oh, you know what? I would appreciate no skins. They haven't promised that they're not going to do them, Jason, though. It's just initially, right?
Yeah, and if I had to guess, I'd say they will at some point, because it's an additional revenue stream. People really
money.
like them. And it's like what you say, too. It's, early on, we're all going to be new to this game, so we are going to need some time to identify the characters. But after we've all been playing 3, 4, 5, 6 months, those of us who are into it, we're going to get that. We're going to be able to recognize characters even with the crazy skins or whatever.
And you're on the other side of this. You like the idea of having more skins. The skins in Overwatch have never bothered you. You're a little kind of disappointed by this, actually, because this has never been an issue for you. But I wonder how much of that comes from you being fully immersed in something like Overwatch and the Overwatch League and watching streams and playing it and all this stuff, and then me being, I would say, even extremely casual when it comes to something like Overwatch.
I think you need to get good, noob.
Oh, I definitely do. I definitely do. There's no doubt about it. The last big piece...
I would ask to play with you sometime, but you'd just drag my rating down.
Oh,
so.
yeah. You do not want to do that to yourself. You just don't want to do that to yourself. I'm okay. I float at 1, right? I float at a 1 KDR.
I thought that was your rating, because my rating is like 2,000. And I'm like, if your rating is 1, then oh my God.
No. Not that bad. Jesus. I know how to click this. One last thing we'll talk about on monetization here. No loot boxes, which I think is an interesting decision for this particular genre, given its competition, but not a surprising decision, given where the industry's been going over the last 12 months, Jason.
Yeah, and especially when you have that whole supposedly deadline that you're supposed to deal with loot boxes by 20. It just makes sense that if you're producing a game now, if you're producing a game to launch in 2020, you probably shouldn't have loot boxes in it.
Yeah.
If for some reason they become more accepted or the laws change, whatever, you can always add them later, but putting them in to try and take them out will just be a nightmare. So it's the best way to go, probably.
So we're watching Valorant. You probably are too. We're going to talk about it for the question of the week down below. It is probably the biggest news of the last week. But there was some news on the Destiny 2 front for those of us that play that shooter. Now, Jason, you and I dabble in this one, in Destiny 2. You bought the last season pass, so I got to ask you now. The next one's out in 4 days. Are you going to buy the next one? Have you been playing Destiny enough to buy the next one?
I actually bought the original season pass, one that came out when we were free to play. I did not buy the most recent one.
So you didn't buy Season 9. You bought Season 8.
I did not. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, I didn't buy the Season of Dawn.
Yeah, Season 10 comes out on the 10th. And yeah, Q had a lot of fun writing those articles for Destiny because all the wording was just all over the place. The 10th anniversary, or the 10th season coming out on the 10th, and this, and season, and the name of the season has season in the title, so it's even worse. But yeah, okay. So you did not? Are you going to buy Season 10?
No. I'm saving my I wrote the season pass article a little while back. I'm saving that for Conqueror's Blade when the new season of that comes out.
I don't know why you guys don't even have forums anymore.
Like I ever used them.
Conqueror's Blade shut down their forums. They moved it to a Discord. It's very fun.
I'm just hoping we'll still have a season 3. The way things are going there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so Destiny 2's director Luke Smith came out and put out a really, really long blog post last week. Kind of detailing 2020 and where Destiny 2 is going. Now, I hadn't played Destiny 2 myself, Jason, in probably about 2 or 3 weeks. I missed big chunks of Season 9, even though I had it unlocked because of stuff I had previously purchased and it being unlocked in there. But, so I have very little Season 9 progression done. I booted it up again probably 3 days ago. I've been playing it for the last 2 or 3 days. I'm going to play it tonight. I'm having some fun going and grabbing. I'm redoing my Hunter the way I play my Hunter. For a long time, I've been Arc spec. Now I'm going to be Void spec and mess around with that. So I'm doing some exotic farming because I want to get the different sniper rifle and stuff. So I'm opening up the forges. Things I never did because of how long I took a gap in between, like right after Forsaken came out and before the most recent expansion. So I'm enjoying it. I will be partaking of Season 10. But it was interesting to see where we're going in 2020. And let's start off with probably the most interesting one from a free-to-play player's perspective. So you get Bright Engrams in the game. And for those of you that don't know, that is Destiny 2's loot box for all intents and purposes. There are cosmetic gears, there's, shaders, there's sparrows, your vehicle on the planet, there's ships, all kinds of stuff in those things. And you can earn them through gameplay, particularly in the season rewards, but you can also buy them for cold hard cash. That's going to change next year, Jason. Or this year.
Next season. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's going to change. They will no longer be purchasable with real money. So yeah, as Luke Smith, executive producer, game director, he said, we want players to know what something costs before they buy it. Bright Engrams don't live up to that principle. Now, I'll say that's nice of him to say, but I think they were okay with us buying things we didn't know before there was legal pressure to do it. I'm just saying. They measured up, they lived up to their principles until Congress started talking. So, whatever.
Interestingly, one of the things they are going to be redoing, Q, and it's one of the things that I said as an experienced player when New Light came out, needs to be redone. Jason, as a brand new player, when he jumped into New Light, said, this doesn't quite live up to what I really needed here. They are going to be fleshing out the intro for new players, Q. What do you think?
You're talking about a game that's been out for a while and everything, I think intros are just good for anybody who's hopping into a game for the first time, as long as you have the option to just kind of skip over it if you're like, yeah, I probably got this anyway.
Well, yeah, and you can do that now, and I presume they're not going to take that out, Jason. It's kind of like you do that little intro, and as soon as you go to the tower, you can continue to follow the New Light intro, or you can just kind of start doing whatever the hell you want because you've played before and you know what you're doing. I don't think they're going to take that out. That ability.
They just want to make it a little easier for new players. And having just this last week, because Black Desert was free, I went into that. I don't like the starting area of that very well. So it's definitely a thing when you're getting new players, especially as they did when they went free to play, to make sure that initial experience is easy enough to deal with.
Yeah, their words, the emphasis also theirs, dramatically. Dramatically. That was so dramatic of a drastically, and it wasn't even the right quote. They dramatically underestimated how many new Guardians jumped in when New Light came out. So, again, a big reason to make sure that the intro does it well. Some of the other things coming, we're going to get the Trial of Osiris back. For those of you that played Destiny 1, that was a pretty big deal that went away when Destiny 2 came out in Destiny 1. And then in Destiny 2, we had the Trials of the Nine, and then that was taken out. We're going to get the Trials of Osiris back, so if you're into the more hardcore 3v3 PvP with the rewards at the end of those chains for consecutive wins, good news, definitely good news for Destiny 2 fans on that front. One last thing before we leave this particular Destiny 2 topic, and I'm trying to find where it is in the article. Is it Everstore? Where is it?
Are you looking at his article or ours?
I'm looking at ours.
It's like right near the top. It's like the second paragraph. I was saying, if you're looking at his article, his thing, the thing he wrote was like 4,000 words. I put it into my word processor and did a word count on it.
Yeah, here it is.
He went on for a while.
Yeah. They're going to be making some changes to just the way limited time activities work, Jason, to kind of, for people like me that are like, shit, I really should play that. I know that's running. I don't want to lose that. I want to be able to get that. They're going to try and take some of that pressure off, which I think is great for a game that sells season-based content.
Yeah, and that's always the issue when you do that, when you have season-based content, or as I alluded to Guild Wars 2, when it first came out, they had stuff that was like, hey, you have to do it this week or this weekend. And yeah, some people did it, and then people who weren't there were upset that they didn't get to do it because they couldn't play that week or whatever. It's called, as Smith calls it, fear of missing out, or FOMO. And you want to have that to some extent in your product or in your game. Act now while supplies last. That sort of
a sense of urgency, a call to duty.
But you can't overdo it. You can't make it so that everything is like that. And even for something like this, where a season lasts 2.5 months, especially if it's a long process, something that takes a good player a good everyday player a while to do, a casual like you or me even, we're going to see that big thing at the end of the rainbow or whatever, and we're never going to get that. I only have 2 months to do this. I can't play this for 3 hours every day. I'm never going to get there. So they're going to make it so that, at least for some activities, they will extend beyond the season. They'll be introduced, and then they'll go for further seasons beyond that. So that's probably a good way to go to make it. It'll still be limited, but limited in time, but not quite as crazy as some other things have been.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, Q, for the players that are playing every single day and have been for years, they're doing something else with legendary items, because it tends to get to the point now in Destiny, particularly if you're playing every day, or every other day, and you're a pretty hardcore player at it, where you get the weapons you want and then you just sit on them. You really don't care what the hell drops anymore, and the only reason you might care is because a new set of light levels is opened up, and so you constantly are just dismantling the stuff you're getting to up the light levels of the stuff you've had forever, and it's the stuff you like. They are going to be introducing over the next few months for the next year, 2020 plans, the kind of a plan where some of those legendaries will phase out, so that there is a incentive for people that have been playing for a long time to get out there and see what new loot is out there and go grab it and mess with it, because maybe you can't use some of the older stuff anymore. I think it's kind of a nice balance what they're talking about doing here, Q.
Yeah, it gives you, that's half the point of playing these games, right, is to kind of earn that new stuff and everything. But I could imagine some people not being entirely happy with this, because, like you said, they sit on the one thing they have because that's the thing that they liked.
Yeah.
So,
and right now you just upgrade it forever. You never have to. He's kind of more envisioning now every 9 to 15 months you're going to have to replace them because they cap at being able to be upgraded. Some people, I think, are going to have a bit of a problem with that, because now my favorite weapon, I can't get up above a certain light level. But I do think, Q, like you just said, that's kind of the point of this game. It's a looter shooter. Go get the new loot.
It's the classic dilemma of any MMO. It's like, do we make it so that you have to get the new gear every year and a half, and then when the new level cap is there, or do we let you keep the same stuff forever? They both have their advantages and their disadvantages.
Right, and it's also the reason why a lot of MMOs came out, with, like transmogging and stuff like that. So you get the new gear, but you can have the stuff that looks like the stuff that you liked, or whatever. It's just, some people just really, really like what they like, and they don't want anything else.
Right. Mercifully, Season 10 is adding a level of categorization to the log for quests. Thank God. So now you can sort by exotic or seasonal quests for starters, stuff like that. Because right now, it's basically, Jason, just an inventory screen. Like, you go to it.
Bad inventory screen.
Yeah, it's just a bag. And you have all your little quest items that you've picked up, and you mouse over them, and you can see what the quest actually is and your progress on it and everything. It's just not your inventory screen. It's the quest screen. And it is just awful. Particularly, this is the worst, and I'm going through it right now. I'm trying to open up the second forge, and if any of you Destiny 2 players are watching, tell me if I'm doing something wrong here, because I've searched the internet and I don't know. I'm trying to open up the second forge. I think it's Gohana. I think that's the name of it. I have the first one opened, and I beat that already. Because I'm doing the quest for the exotic sniper rifle, right? And I have the box. I got to get the 4 keys. I got the first key. Now I'm trying to open up the second forge so I can go do that and get the second key. You have to get a random drop off of a fallen. It's like the stolen black armor or whatever. Hey, Q's green!
Some things, even when she has better internet, some things never change.
Some things never change. I'm trying to, so I'm running around in Tangled Shore, just killing fallen, trying to get this with precision shots and everything. I can't get it. The one thing, Jason, that I read was like the most common thing online was you're already past this quest step, but you didn't realize it. That is like on Reddit and everything. It is the most common reply, and the most common reply from the people posting it is, "Oh shit, yeah, I am." Okay, never mind. So I've been like mousing over every fucking thing in the quest to just make sure that I am not, because this thing is not dropping for me, and it's just a random drop from a random fallen. It's annoying me. So if anybody's got any tips, let me know. I guarantee I am not already past it on the quest chain. I do not have the next quest to do the public events or anything like that, so help me out. Destiny 2's employees might be changing the way they do certain things too, Jason. They may not be working from the office for a while.
Yeah, that's another impact of the coronavirus on business and games in general. Less so maybe in the U.S. than it is in other parts of the world, but Bungie has still decided that a lot of their team, or maybe all of them, I'm not sure, are going to be working from home for a while, and that they've set up a remote work infrastructure that allows them to continue their work, and notably they're not going to delay any content. Season 10 is still to come out as expected. But yeah, they're going to have they're going to have to work from home for a little while.
They're not the only company considering this right now, by the way. And in fact, during a teleconference, Take-Two CEO Strass Zelnick gave his opinion that this whole working from home experiment may result in game developers having more people being remote work. And he's not a fan of remote work. He thinks everybody should come to the crowded building and cough on each other. But
and be there for 16 hours a day or whatever. Sure.
Right, and go through crunch for everything that Take-Two does. No, he's not a big fan of remote work, but that this short-term offshooting of work to remote homework due to a coronavirus outbreak could result in some companies being a little more open to this as far as in the game industry, Q. And I think it's funny that one of like the most technologically innovative industries is one of the ones that really does as little remote work as they possibly can get away with. I think it's kind of ironic sometimes.
I mean, I'm not sure what his logic is behind not wanting to do it. Stop, Jason.
The green.
I know, and I don't know why it hasn't changed back. Normally it does by now. But like, I don't know what his logic is, other than, I don't know, maybe some nonsense about team building, or, people work.
It's control. It's nothing but control.
I mean, yeah, probably. To make sure everybody's where you can see exactly what they're doing.
Look, none of the three of us have ever seen each other in person. Yet I say we're a pretty good functioning team. So it's about control.
And my other job, I've been a remote home worker for 10 years now. Well, 10 years this November. So big global company too. So, all right, Destiny 2. I can't wait to have some free time tonight. So I'm gonna zone out and play some D2. I think I'll play on the PC instead of the PS2 or PS4.
You've never actually played with me yet.
PS4. Play on the PS2.
Yeah, I'll play on the PS2.
PS2.
Before we sign off and do the bombs and everything, couple just fun little news nuggets that I thought were interesting as going through. Epic Games does not like SuperData's reporting of numbers, particularly when it comes to Fortnite Battle Royale. Their quote is, "We are disappointed that SuperData has repeatedly published wildly inaccurate reports about Fortnite based on what we believe is questionable methodology." The reason they're saying this is because SuperData keeps having their revenue going down and down and down and down, and Epic Games is saying that these numbers aren't right. Jason, a point that we've questioned on this show many times.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when they left World of Warcraft off their top-selling titles of the year, top revenue titles of the year.
earning, yeah.
Yeah. I was just checking, just looking at their Twitter real quick to see if SuperData had said anything, like a response, and I've not seen anything. So I guess they're just taking this one on the chin, apparently.
Yep. We did get this week, Q, a 17-minute video look at the Beast Caller for Magic Legends, so we're getting some more information out of there. We saw the Mage, now we're seeing the Beast Caller. Looked pretty badass for those of you that like to run around with pets, didn't it?
Yeah, it might actually end up, kind of being my favorite because I do enjoy running around with the pets and having them do stuff. And it's not just the one pet that's following you. It's also let's summon a herd of things to attack. Like that's literally I don't know what the things were, but it was an ability of her, like you did a summon and they just went, so, and then, other stuff. And then you're toting around a big ass axe as well and, doing all kinds of nasty shit with it. So it looked fun.
Yeah. Take a look at it. Last one. Funcom still trying to encourage its investors to take 10 cents generous offer to acquire all the stock. That offer does run out on March 16th, though. So there's 10 days. 10 cents still hasn't bought the company yet, but probably going to happen. I'm still kind of in the air about what they see here, Jason. I know in the article you talk about Conan Exiles doing pretty well, and they've released their financials. They were okay for Q4 2019. They weren't fantastic or anything. They had Conan Exiles. They're going to have an expansion later this year for that, along with Moons of Madness and Conan Chop Chop. I can't believe I just said that. Further into the future, we have the Dune game, which they're not calling an RPG, but whatever. And that budget for that game is supposed to be 30 to 50 million, so we should expect something pretty decent out of there for us Dune fans. Then they've got a multiplayer co-op shooter set in the world of Mutant Chronicles. This is all well and good. None of it's earth-shattering to me, though, that I could really see just Tencent really wanting to aggressively buy this company. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on it. What I don't like, Q, is that in the financials, none of their currently free-to-play games, Secret World Legends, Age of Conan, they didn't even come up and receive significant mentions. But I guess on the plus side, they didn't say they were shutting them down either.
I mean, I can't see where they're actually making any money off of Secret World Legends. There's nothing left to buy. There really isn't. Everybody that's in there and playing, unless there's random new players that I just don't know about, but everybody that's been in there and played for any amount of time has all the items they want.
Yep. I mean, there's no new issues or anything like that to buy. So yeah. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you know what happens as we get closer to March 16th. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Q, since you're green screening, we'll let you go first.
Well, obviously, this is apparently just going to be my A-bomb. What the hell, camera? What the hell?
Can we start a fund to get Q a new webcam?
Go. I don't even know if that's the problem. I mean, I need a new computer, too. So it could be either one of these things, or it could just be the internet being weird. Who the hell knows?
Go ahead, Jason.
I'm going to give a double bomb to Total War Arena, which was shut down a year ago, back in February, and now it's back. It's back. It's back in a beta in China.
Yay. I'm going to give an A-bomb to Jason. I'm not scared of spiders or anything like that. They don't freak me out or whatever. But when you aren't expecting it and you get a nice big-ass close-up of a furry spider by surprise, it does startle you. And I was not ready for the image he used on a Lord of the Rings piece that was talking about having players fight Shelob. And oh my God, I just was not ready for it. Let me put this up here.
Well, give an A-bomb to Standing Stone Games for not sending any kind of screenshots or anything for this thing.
You know what?
Go find a random.
I am a huge arachnophobe, and I was so glad that was the spider that you used, because jumping spiders do not terrify me nearly as much as any other type of spider you could have chosen a picture of.
I wrote at the bottom, I said there are no screenshots, however, that's why I went with the image of a spider at the top of this article. I hope it's scary enough, and apparently it was.
It startled the hell out of me, man. Was not expecting it when I was scrolling through, checking thumbnails and headlines and shit. And I was like, whoa, what is... I had to read I was like, what is Jason just writing zoological editorials now? What is this?
You know, maybe.
From the viewers, Gesley says, now about that taxes topic. We're talking about the federal government in the United States kind of looking at currencies, particularly V-Bucks and Fortnite, as potentially taxable items. Now that about that taxes topic, it really would be stupid and probably ineffective. For example, if I buy gas from my car, should I really pay more taxes because it still is in the car? But I really wanted to say is the game companies' publishers would find yet another way to get around that. For example, get rid of that currency and offer surprise currency. Just kidding, direct purchases only. And before someone says that taxes were meant for players, not for the companies, I'm sure that no one wants to pay taxes twice, so players simply would not use such service, and the company still wants your money, so they would offer something that players would want or prefer. That's probably all I wanted to say about this topic. There's a very, like, Forrest Gump ending to that M-bomb, right? Or that A-bomb, or that feedback right there. I was like, that's all I have to say about that. Go ahead, Jason.
I've still never seen Forrest Gump, so.
What?
I'm stupid as stupid does. I can't help it.
Judge him silently. And
There's a lot of movies I haven't seen. Everyone's like, you haven't seen that? Yeah, we're going to deal with it. Okay. Nasogra says, dub-bomb to Jason for telling my fellow Guild Wars 2 players to learn to like new things. I talked about a Cantha expansion in last week's comment because I've seen tons of players ask for years in the subreddits, far more than I ever saw for Alona. So I do believe it's the one piece of content guaranteed to bring players back to Guild Wars 2. That being said, there is so much lore and I can pull from Guild Wars 2 is at its best when it's doing new stuff like Path of Fire mounts, Heart of Thorns meta events, Super Venture Box, etc., or working with new lore like the Sylvaria, Zephyrites, etc. Thank you, Nasaga. You have a balanced view. You want the old stuff, but you're okay with seeing the new stuff. So, good job to you. Thumbs up. Da-bomb.
Go ahead, Q.
All right, Breckner Kettlein. A bit late, but my weekly bomb goes to Perfect World Entertainment for their amazing support team. Got a new alpha key for Torchlight 3 that I used on Steam after not being able to play the alpha on their Arc launcher with instructions included and all that.
Oh, imagine that. Problems with the Arc launcher. Crazy. Striker X31 says double bombs for patch 5.2 for Final Fantasy XIV and Phantasy Star Online 2 closed beta that left, from what I heard, first-timers, veterans, and those who waited for it for it to hit North America wanting more of it. A-bomb to Sony and Square Enix and others not attending PAX East due to the coronavirus situation. Yeah, and now GDC canceled. Expect more of that over 2020 as this whole thing does its, does what viruses do. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, speaking of Final Fantasy, did you see that the card game has those like Cloud versus Sephiroth packs now in anticipation of the 7 remake?
Yes, so those came out last Friday. I already have, while you read the bomb, I'll go get mine.
Okay. Dib says, people still play Warface? That game's absolutely dead on PC and for good reason. Oh.
The name.
Well, yeah.
The terrible, terrible name.
Yeah. It is on Steam, though, and it has about 2,000 average players, so that doesn't seem like dead to me. While Mike's getting his thing, Q, you go ahead and do the next bomb.
All right, Misfit Raid. Warface is like, yo, let's stealth launch the Apex Legends. Maybe we'll get a few more impulse buys before they find out it looks like Minecraft.
Ooh, dang.
Look at you guys just hosting. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so...
You're not really necessary, Mike.
Oh, I'm totally not. I'm expendable. Right there.
You haven't opened it yet?
All right, so I have 5.
And this is the unopened one?
Only half as many as the WildStar boxes you had, or Firefall. WildStar.
Look, this is valid.
Yeah. So what I do with starter decks, so what I do with Final Fantasy trading cards in general first is I get, and this is how I started even having them. I wanted 1 regular and 1 foil of every card, and I had no intention of playing. I just wanted to collect 1 set of foil and 1 set of regular. So Opus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comes out, and that's all I do. I buy enough to complete a binder of regular and a binder of foil for each Opus, and I put them away. a few weeks before Opus 6 came out, my son and I were looking for a new game to play, and he's like, Dad, you have thousands of cards downstairs that you bought to get those full sets. Just let's learn how to play it. We've been addicted ever since. But I also buy the starter decks. So we've had 3, 6, 7, 8 single starter decks over the course of the last 2 or 3 since launch. And then we've had, this is the third dual deck starter deck package. So when these come out, I buy probably 5 of them in most cases. This case I bought 5. I'll probably buy 1 more because there's a full art in here that I want to play set out. But 2 of them stay sealed, and then the other 3 or 4 get opened because there are starter exclusive cards for Opus 11 in here, and I need to have enough of them for my decks, my son's decks, all that stuff. So, yeah, there it is. Pretty badass. We played them last night at my local game store against each other. We ran them through their paces a bunch of times. They weren't too bad. I think the Cloud one has an edge. Because it's got, for you Magic the Gathering players, it's got that new cloud that's on the cover there has a birthing pot effect where, you can cycle through progressively more expensive forwards. So I think it's a little stronger, but the Sephiroth deck definitely has some very good cards and surprises in it. So yes, Jason, thank you for plugging that.
No problem. I'm here for you.
Question of the week last week. Would you ever consider being part of an in-game protest, or have you already been part of one? Elusive X Treasure chimes in. Hey, so viewer,
welcome back.
Yeah, the viewer on the last show that was worried about Elusive told you she was probably okay, and here she is. Hi all, alive and well here. Just been playing that fast-paced hardcore MMO called Life. The gameplay gets repetitive, but the graphics are amazing.
Yeah, but it's pay to win.
Yes, so is. And the rewards kind of suck sometimes.
No, really. Just had a lot going on here. Good to be thought of, though. For the question of the week, I've never protested per se, but I did sign a petition back when City of Heroes was shutting down, knowing full well it would likely have no effect. Now I just protest with my wallet and simply don't pay for or play games I'm not satisfied with. Fair enough. Cute. Glad to know you and your family are doing well, by the way.
Gasly, hello. I really don't have much to say about this week's question, only that in my opinion, voting with your wallet is still the most effective way. But unless people don't share that same mindset, nothing will change.
Noticing a trend, Jason. Finish it off.
The initial protest was about original EverQuest. So, I mean, how do you vote for your wallet in that when it's only got like 8 players already? So.
Oh.
Nasogra says, I've been part of an in-game protest in Guild Wars 2 called Super Adventure Box or Riot. Basically, Super Adventure Box was supposed to be a returning event, but the second release had some backlash. World 2 is a big difficulty jump compared to World 1, and that combined with another competing release overlapping with it led to a low amount of players completing World 2. I'll have a step in to say that I agree on all points with that, and I was one of those players who just dabbled with it and then moved on. The devs been to bring back Super Adventure Box for a couple of years after that release, so some players in the subreddit started a campaign to bring it back. It led to a protest in Radasum, where it really was a giant party, to show support for bringing it back. Given that it's now in Guild Wars 2's April Festival, I think the protest was a success. That's a good point. Like I don't remember the protest itself. Like maybe I vaguely do, but I wasn't a part of it. But I remember hearing some people just being angry about it or whatever. Now the dev said, of course, the point is the dev said we can't do it. We can't bring it back because it's got old code or whatever. Of course, then they brought it back. So
imagine that.
Never believe developers when they say they can't do something.
Imagine
our game can't be free to play. We can't possibly get by with that. Oh, our player count is shit. Hey, we're going free to play. All right.
What they're really saying is, hey, this would take work.
Yeah.
Question of the week this week. What are your first impressions of the Valorant information we've gotten so far? And if you're not up to date on it, come over to mmobomb.com. Check out all the articles. Let us know your impressions. Something you're looking forward to? Something you're going to like? What don't you like about it? Leave those comments in the comments below. Make sure while you're there you give us your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. And if you've got questions for the panel, feel free to throw those down there as well. And maybe they'll be on next week's show. Until then, Q, where can everybody find your green screen?
Well, maybe not the green screen, but still on Twitter at Quinlan.
Jason.
Change your avatar to have a green filter on it. But
I'm not changing it from what it is. No.
All right. Find me on Twitter at Winter@Formal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter at magicman1, but more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so you can get tweets and all the latest news, articles, interviews, giveaways, first look videos, free-to-play casts, free-to-play weeklies, and so much more. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Make sure to wash your hands, apparently, if you're not already. Stay safe.
And don't touch your face.
We'll see you on the servers.